and they are looking at this fall to have that done.
So, and I hate to be thick here, but are we gonna have that possibility of having that church built with only one way in and out?
Church will not be done by that time. From what the plans are for the church, I understand that will either coincide with the fall or early spring.
So if and when it's done and becomes occupied, there will be a minimum of 2 accesses in and out of there.
A minimum of 2 and hopefully 3.
Okay. Consider a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mordini.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Consider a motion to approve resolution 2016-13, approving the amended site plan for Lakeside Fellowship Church.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Yes, Ron. I'd like to say that I was at the P&Z meeting. It was a long meeting, a lot of discussions. Everybody seemed pleased with the improvements that were made. And part of it was just a lot better presentation this time, better pictures, I believe, and it showed up a lot better. And it was a split vote, but it passed. There was only one dissenting vote. Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Roll call, please.
Dvorak.
Yes.
Mordini.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Number 2, Highway 415 intersections and turn lanes. A, discuss Snyder's report on South 3rd Street and West Bridge Road signal warrant analysis intersection geometry review. I hope it's not as complicated as it sounds.
It will be.
Oh boy.
As a preface to this, I might add that your second item on this is the agreement with the IDOT for the paving of turn lanes. They have moved up their time period, so we had to move up the time period on this report. We wanted the council to have this report so you knew how this was all lining up and how the geometry of that intersection is going to lay out and whether or not you're going to meet signal warrants in the future so we can start making those plans. And with that type of a backdrop, Justin Jackson, PE from Snyder is here, and I don't know if you have any lead-in comments, Kathleen, or?
I don't think so.
Hello, I'm Justin Jackson from Snyder & Associates. As Gary mentioned, it's kind of a two-prong look at this intersection geometry and also the signal warrants. The signal warrants were basically an update from the 415 corridor TEEP study. And and within the TEEP study, it decided it's really on the verge of being warranted for a signal at 3rd and Bridge. And so with that, we kind of looked in the adjacent areas, some development traffic, some proposed developments, and then also just kind of some speculation on the developments. And we looked just in these areas right here. We kind of just really simplified things, just kind of an overall development within the areas we were considered as single-family unit housing, multiple family unit housing, and then some commercial development. The commercial development was just assumed to be offices or little specialty retail places. And this figure right here was a full build development of all the area that would really influence additional traffic through the intersection. And it also creates an east approach to the intersection with the development of Crossroads and Deer Haven as those site plans were submitted to the city. So with the full build of this development around Bridge and Third, that and no additional growth in the background traffic, the signal warrants were met. And so we kind of went back and tried to figure out where in a time frame those signal warrants would be met, of how much development would need to occur if those signal warrants were still going to be met. And as you can see in this figure, this kind of gives you an idea of the additional traffic just within the AM peak hour, accessing the developments, and also through Third and Bridge Road. And a similar figure for the PM peak hour with full development. And then we also, like I said, just looked at the development just adjacent to the intersection, and what we found was that Deer Haven and Crossroads were about 50% developed, and that would take into account, the multiple family housing unit, the single family housing unit, and the commercial that would be occupied, not necessarily built. That with this additional traffic, then signal warrants would be met for the 4-hour condition, and then for the full development for the full area, that the 8-hour warrants would be met and the 4 hours warrants would be met, which was kind of alluded to in the TEEP study, where they were just on the verge of satisfying the 4-hour warrant. And then we went and looked at the traffic that was going to go through this intersection, and came up with some recommended geometry within the intersection, and based on the peak hour turning movements and traffic volumes for each approach, that only the additional east approach would be added with the development, and that would match the west approach with a dedicated left turn lane and a through right lane. And then on the north approach, where currently it's tracked out in the median, that would become a dedicated left turn lane. So basically, this additional pavement that would be needed would just be on the east approach. The north and south approach, that alignment would still stay the same, and the east approach would align with the west approach. So as it relates to the DOT 3R project, that their plans would align with any future improvements to this intersection, if it would be the addition of the east approach, or in coordination with signalizing the intersection. So if I can jump back up here, kind of get an idea of the lanes that would be needed at the intersection, and then also just kind of seeing those lanes, and then.
Could you stop there?
Yep.
Figure 4 and 5.
Yep.
So 4 is full development, 5 is 50% development. Can you explain to me the difference in, I'm right with that, right? Notice if you go down to 4 and 5. I'm going to ask you a really specific question on that slide with lots of information, so I'll apologize in advance. But so you've got on figure 5, if I'm reading this, you're projecting with 50% development coming from 415 towards town, more traffic going right on Bridge Road than going left. Am I reading that right? So you got 2881 and 158 going through that intersection from the south?
Yes, because there was on the Crossroads development, site plan that we had put in, or there was commercial property adjacent
Yep,
here, and there was access for another commercial property here, and those access were
yep.
directly to Third. So then that traffic would essentially get on the roadway network before it got into the intersection.
But that's gonna be 6 times the traffic going across, or getting on Bridge Road and going across the bridge?
The
So, but am I reading those indicators correctly? So you're coming up 415 from the south towards town.
Yep.
And that, you've got 28, the volume of 28 going left, 81 going straight, and 158 going right?
Yes.
Does that seem odd to anybody else?
I know exactly what the question is, and I'm going to try to rephrase it to get to your answer. Justin, are these all new traffic movements due to the fact
Yes.
that...
Oh, yeah. It's only
Okay,
development
okay.
traffic. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is all the figures. This included additional traffic that's from the
Okay.
development only.
That makes sense. Thank you. Withdraw the previous 4 minutes of wasted time.
That's okay.
Sorry, I took you off track there.
That's okay. So then, this kind of, I guess the question we had before was, will there be an additional dedicated northbound right turn into Crossroads and then to Deer Haven? And these figures here with this full development and those numbers and these peak hours are really what determines the need for an additional dedicated turn lane, and that turning traffic does not warrant a turn lane into those developments.
Did you say does not?
Does not, no.
Does anybody else find that strange, since it's already as busy as it is, that we're gonna add that much more traffic out there and we still don't need a turn lane?
I do, considering you sit there and kind of play Russian roulette, leaving the stop sign some days.
Yeah. No, but you're the engineer, but
Well,
I'm the guy that drives through there every day.
in the PM peak hour, you have 35 vehicles turning in there within an hour. So you have a vehicle turning into this development once every 2 minutes.
Once every what?
2 minutes. That's an hour total.
But again, as an additional,
Yeah, well, all the right turning volume would be additional. There's, and that would just, there would be within that through movement, that right turning volume would be in the through total traffic as well before it got to the intersection.
I see a collision, there's some other, like an accident history on this study as well.
Or
Was there anything,
yeah, we updated the
a charge? Okay.
415 corridor TEEP study. We just kind of upgraded that a little bit from the completion of that.
Looks like there was doubt.
And so these are just the crashes I've reported at the intersection.
Okay.
From the last 5 years.
One of them was my son hitting the deer. Okay, all right, thank you.
other questions?
No, I was just asking if there was any.
Good information, thanks.
Thank you. Sir.
Especially now that I understand.
Okay, now we
You
need,
wanna, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
You may want to just summarize your recommendation real quick, that basically that we're going to be sign warrants and the geometry as the DOT has it does meet the needs as you have studied them.
Yeah, the signal warrants are satisfied for this additional traffic with the development, and I guess it's kind of as you see fit within your budget to maybe schedule this if you want to signalize the intersection within the near future, or kind of wait until you see how this development gets planned. One thing that may I guess add some congestion to the intersection is actually the construction of the developments, where during the construction activities, the traffic generated from those from the development from the construction may be more than actually once the development is occupied. But usually the construction activities are just a little bit later in the morning, after the AM peak, and then usually kind of concluded for the day before the PM peak. So this kind of I guess maybe take that into kind of the recommendation to the time frame on when to signalize an intersection.
Kathleen, do you have anything to add?
About the only thing I was thinking is that we did have a conversation with Tony Gustafson at the Iowa DOT, and he said, he indicated that the developer, in order to get an entrance permit for the development, they will need to do a traffic impact study as well, so you'll have some more detailed information based on their exact proposed uses at that point in time.
Well, and with the proposed plan, that's going to be the only access going in and out of there, unless the one from the north happens. But what we've seen so far,
They have an access kind of across from, and I apologize, I believe it's Sandpiper Court. Is that they'll have that they're showing an access at Sandpiper, West Bridge, and then one to the north. So there'd be 3 access points for the total development off of 3rd, based on their current plan. But and in conformance with that, it's not in the plan too.
our study shows that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Assuming Deer Haven development goes through.
Yeah, I mean, that's the access on 3rd doesn't change because of Deer Haven.
Right, but the connectivity does. If that road doesn't go in connecting to Broadway, you're just going to loop back. I mean, they're not going to use that from an ingress-egress standpoint. Whereas,
You mean timing-wise, as far as
right,
if the coal mines are developed before Deer Haven? Yeah, I mean, they would then be.
it's going to be even more of a bottleneck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there would be a connection to Summer, but they're not going to go that way. I mean, they're going to go out to Bridge Road.
Any other questions? Okay, B, consider a motion to approve 2016-15 resolution approving agreement with Iowa Department of Transportation for turn lanes on Highway 415.
This is an agreement that shares the cost with the DOT of the turn lanes. As has been discussed in the past, this would be for Sandpiper, Southside Drive, and Pine Ridge. This would, Sandpiper would be the only one that does not have a left turn lane. All the rest will have left and right. I also know that this agreement will move up the construction to construction year 2016 and would make the first payment due sometime in the 17-18 fiscal year. And that first payment will be approximately $91,485.06.
So we do have some time to plan for that. Not as much as I'd like, but we do have some time to plan for it. Any questions? Any discussion? Mr. Lane?
Well, our chief study showed that we need that for safety concerns, as we all know. And there's no way we're gonna get it done any cheaper than right now, so with that, I would move to approve.
Well, second, I do want to say, I can do discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
So I would agree. I think this is prudent to do, and at the risk of getting in the way of an upgrade on this end, I'm very disappointed. I think that the city did everything that they could to extend the option of having turn lanes farther up 415, most notably on the marina entrance. And the DOT was not interested or willing to do anything whatsoever, which again I find very disappointing, and I hope that nothing happens, but I think the city did everything that we could to try and get that at least vetted, if not completed, and it died there, so it's disappointing.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Go ahead.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Dvorak?
Yes.
Mordini?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item 3, consider motion to approve resolution 2016-16, approving the proposed scope of services for police chief search with Mulder and Associates.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. There's a a scope of services in front of you. Resolution 2016-16 starts and is the first step in filling the vacancy of police chief. There was a review of firms that did this type of work, and Mulder and Associates constantly came out on top. We have a proposed fee not to exceed $8,000, but does not include final candidates' travel expenses. It's hard to tell what those would be without knowing what the candidates are going to be at this time. Steve Nyber with Mulder and Associates would give a quick comment on the proposed scope of services.
My partner's in Florida with a well-deserved vacation bicycling through the state, so I'd just be here glad to answer any questions. I think you should have a request in there. Basically, what we'll start with is getting a position profile, which means we'll be interviewing all of you on the council for one, and the department heads, and Roger will interview the police officers, and we will also get any other interested citizens. From that, we will build a position profile, seeing exactly what you're going to be looking for in a new chief and what you don't want. And then we'll be sending out notices on the internet and by mail and through some sources we have with international chiefs of police and so forth to look for the finest candidates we can find. After that, we will narrow the field down to, in the end, it'll be 5, which will give you the choice of these 5. We'll bring them in for interviews and do a little testing on them. We will also send out essays to these finalists to see what their communication skills are and so forth. And from then on, we'll give you those 5 names, and we will bring those 5 people in here for interviews by you and several other councils that we have. We'll have one with department heads on it, and probably one with some police officers from the area around in there. And then, of course, we'll bring them in for a meet and greet with their wives if they're married, or their husband if they're female. And from there, you'll make the decision out of the 5. So, however, if you look, we'll send you all the applications. And if you don't like the 5 and you want somebody else put on that list, that's your job. So you can do that too. So. Any other questions on it?
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Mordini,
Yes.
Sargent, Anderson.
Yes. Item 4, consider motion to approve the proposed FY 16-17 budget and to order public hearing for March 14th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. How do we incorporate, or maybe we don't even want to, the discretionary powers for us to make some decisions later on?
Those would be, what we will do is we will take what we took from that work session. The budget total will be $6,795,795, and everything that's a discretionary item, anything that is not an ongoing day-to-day activity, still must go through council.
Good. We have a motion second, don't we? Go ahead.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Mordini,
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Mayor's report. Nothing. Council report. Ron Anderson. I would just like to comment about what was said earlier about the P&Z meeting of last Monday night. I'd like to compliment Snyder Associates first, for being so well prepared, making a good presentation. I would like to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission for their diligence and the questions that were asked. And just say that they were really looking out for the city's best interests, and I think they made a very good decision in not making a decision. I think that's all I have. Mr. Lane.
Yes, I don't know if any of you caught the little blurb they had on Channel 13 last week that I had mentioned before about the e-bike policy that the MPO was working on. And I can't believe that I didn't show up on the TV. I mean, the guy talking is literally right there and the camera is right over there. But somehow or another, only my iPad came in the shot. But anyway, there's a policy from California where they've separated into 4 different types of trails and 4 different types of e-bikes. And it's in a matrix form, what kind of spells everything out. I'll get this so it can be distributed to everybody. And there's also an article in there about attributes of a bicycle-friendly community that we might want to just read for information. The last thing is that the committee that is of the bike roundtable that's doing this, putting together the policy, I got myself put on that at the last meeting. So if anybody has anything they want to get passed along to them, make sure that they let me know. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman DeBoer.
Yeah, just one quick item. Jen, you probably did this, right? Appreciate that. What I'm alluding to is the home serve analytics, basically the insurance that residents have the option of purchasing. And just wanted a quick update, and it's really telling that went from 38 to 105 from January to February. So 105 people total are participating, and I think that shows a very good decision on the patience on the council and staff, and thanking them for doing that. It's hopefully never be used, but it's always good to have that. That's got some good participation. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Mordini.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Sargent.
The only thing, real quick, and I know we're however long into budget discussions, but I think it's incumbent upon us to be pretty critical of the process. And I know Rob mentioned that we spent considerably more time this year in the finance committee, and I don't know that, and it's my first time, but I don't know that we're any better off than we have been in the past. So I think we need to take a good look at how things work. And I know that was brought up earlier about things coming up sooner and allowing people the opportunity to fully present ideas in a meaningful way and have us be the voice of the citizens that we should be. So we're at where we're at for this year, but I hope it's different for next year. So thank you.
Well put. Council discussion. Anybody have anything to discuss? Comments to Councilman Sarchet's comment? Anybody have anything to say about those or anything else? I'd like to say that was very well put. Thank you for speaking up.
Always can help, can always continue to refine and make things more efficient. And I think some of that's on us to also bring those, ask the questions proactively. And so we're all learning as we go.
Just another thing I think might have helped is after one or more of the finance committee meetings, if the rest of the council could have been briefed on what was discussed, would have been very helpful. 60% of the council was looking at stuff for the very first time tonight. So.
Yeah. Only thing I'd add was the department heads that I've spoken with, they're not real pleased with the process either, and think they need a little more. They think they need a little more input into it, and I think that would be helpful. And there again, a line of communication between those department heads and the city council would be a big help for us anyway. We'll move on to the city administrator's report.
I'd like to thank Dave Dvorak for going over the home serve analytics. You stole my thunder. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
That it. Staff reports. Amy,
Nothing, Your Honor.
anything else, Kathleen?
I guess the main thing I wanted to let you know, I mean, you have a draft copy of the comprehensive plan report on the dais. Obviously, our goal there, it's still going to be going back to P&Z at their March meeting, and then they may be in a position to recommend approval at that point, or they may want some more changes. But I want you guys to have an early advanced copy of it, since it's a pretty thick document. You have a chance to read through it. If you have any comments on it, feel free to email those to me, especially if you want anything brought up before the P&Z meeting next month. And I guess that's really, like I said, that's about all I have. I am working with Jake to make sure that we have the current and updated version of all the maps and the report in an easy to find location on the city's website. I'm going to be sending out an email to everybody who's served, not only to P&Z on the steering committee, but everybody who's served on the stakeholders committee, and also to all department heads to make sure that they all know it's out there, and to have them have ample opportunity to review it as well.
So the final plan will be coming out of that meeting on
It'll come out
March 21st.
Yeah, I mean,
shortly thereafter.
if it depends on, they've had some full P&Z meetings too, so it kind of depends on their time allotment and that kind of thing, and when they feel comfortable. But they've got the report, and they've seen it kind of all the way through. But we'll just see if they're ready to move it forward to you this month, or if it'll be next month.
Comment I'd like to make with that, or some discussion at the P and Z meeting. I think we as council people are gonna have to look at that and see where we need to change some ordinances, where we need to put a little more, emphasis on these ordinances and, more teeth in our ordinances we hear all the time, so they can be enforced.
One of the things you may want to pay particular attention to is the implementation section. It's kind of the last section before you get to the appendixes. The appendices have the survey results and comments that we received online, so that those are all there for you to look at. But the last section, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you what the chapter number is, but it's the implementation plan, and that actually has some very distinct action items, like some of which Ron was referring to in terms of ordinance changes and those kinds of things. Some of them are policies, some of them are ordinance changes, some of them are more just day-to-day operation kinds of things. But those are pretty important steps.
11.
Chapter 11, thank you. Oh, and other thing we did talk about with P&Z is that once we get those established, and is maybe in a year or so, we would go, or I mean, at a time frame that you think would be suitable, we'd go back and kind of do an update and see, how many of the items that we followed through on that the city has actually enacted, that kind of thing, just so that the plan isn't, a nice document that then sits on the shelf where it's a bunch of pretty pictures, that it actually does move forward. So kind of a little bit of a progress report. Going back to that as almost like a checklist.
Thank you. Mr. Schulte?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Jay?
Your report tonight.
Finance report.
The only thing I have is I just want to welcome you guys to come and visit me anytime you have questions about the city finances, budget questions. I provide you guys a finance report each month, and I never get any questions, so don't know if you guys want to see more info, less info, so just give me that feedback on what it is that will make your guys' jobs easier.
Thank you. Dan? Thank you. Chief? Library?
Nothing to report.
Citizen liaison is not here. Anybody want anything else before we get out of here?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I'm gonna leave.
I had my daughter actually.